Oh, tiny bit of a delay there, but...
Hey, Andrew.
Hey, what's up?
We're talking funny theater stories.
Mm-hmm.
We've heard one from Jacob, and we've heard a couple from Allison. Do you have any funny theater stories in your past? Like even being in a high school play?
Yeah, like I did a bunch of high school theater, but I've been trying to think if I can remember a story, and one hasn't come to mind yet, but I will continue to think.
Carrie? Erica?
Unfortunately, I haven't done a lot of theater. It was not something I was into, unfortunately.
I got nothing like funny story-wise.
Yeah.
So funnily enough, when I was in high school, I took stagecraft because I wanted to see what the orchestra pit and like all the secret rooms at the back of the stage were like, because I'm very curious.
Yeah.
And we had a really big theater at my high school. But I signed up for acting in grade 12, acting 12. And then I dropped it so I could have a spare because I thought, when am I possibly ever going to use acting or stage experience?
Uh-huh.
I have a story about the scariest thing I've ever seen on stage.
I want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to believe that it's scary. You're going to think, Allison, that's the least scary thing in the world. Why were you afraid of that? And I can't give you an answer why. But, okay. So there's this theater company called Bread and Puppet Theater. They're based out of Vermont, and it's like this theater performance collective that was founded in the 1960s. And they got super famous because they came up with this show that was in protest of the Vietnam War at the time. And their whole deal was that they would do a performance and then give out free bread to the public who came to see it. So like, yeah, that's pretty dope. I like the combination. So I had read about this show in college, and I found out that they were coming to Seattle to perform at a puppet theater that we apparently have that I didn't know about. And so me being a giant nerd, was like, oh, tight. I'm going to go watch this. It's going to be so enriching. And so I tried to find all of my friends to be like, hey, who wants to go see some like super awesome puppets with me? Nobody wanted to come. So it was just me.
I would have come.
I know you would have come. So I went by myself. And I remember like sitting down, and the theater was pretty bare. And they announced beforehand to turn off your cell phones like all the way because any kind of like vibration would be too loud if that happened. The show was like quiet enough that everything had to be silent. And I was like, ooh, okay, so this is going to be like pretty quiet and intense. That sounds awesome. Let's see these weird puppets. And so it begins with this blank stage, and you see on one end there's like a chime and a bell, and on the other this figure enters, and they're wearing all black and a mask that's all black that kind of goes up to here, so it looks like a little unsettling. And they begin walking like very slowly across the stage. It takes like 30 seconds for them to get there, and I'm like a little nervous at this point, like, okay, it's pretty ritualistic, yeah. And they complete this cycle, and it begins a short scene. And the puppets themselves are like these body puppets, like they're huge. And you're like, you see these people controlling like the little hands and the sticks, and there's no dialogue whatsoever. And it's all this like very slow, methodical movement. And so over the course of like the first 30 minutes, it's these like ritualistic scenes of like the puppet people doing a scene about a village, and then breaking it up into a vignette with the one person crossing, and then a puppet vignette, and then the one person crossing. I swear this is going somewhere.
Sounds exciting.
After a couple of these, by now like 10 people have left in the audience. Like a bunch of people have just like pieced out of there because it's super boring. There's nothing happening. But me being a giant nerd, I'm on the edge of my seat like, where is this going? And finally, you hear this like kind of clanky clutter. And now instead of the bells on one side of the screen, there's a pile of metal. And it's all on the floor. And there's a chain going up to the ceiling. And it's like, what is that for? The person who walks out in front walks like really slowly over to a rope, pulls it and just goes to town, like pulling this thing and all the metals clanking around and making all of this noise. The curtains part, and you see all of the villager people, except this time they're making noise for the first time. But they're not making like normal noise. They've all got their like little puppet hands up here, and they're all going, and I'm like, nope, this is not fun. And then I start counting because I'm like, by this time, you know how many people are there. And I know that there's one person clanging and there's two people doing this thing. Where are the other ones? Where did they go? And then one person comes out with a drill in their hand, like a mechanical drill, sticks it inside of an oil barrel, turns it on, and it makes the worst noise. So you've got this like horrible drill and a barrel noise. You've got the clanging on one side, and then the like that horrible noise on there. And I'm like freaking out because there's one person missing. I know there's one more. Where are they? And then out of nowhere, there's this giant puppet snake that moves across the stage, and it's like writhing around. And at this point, I'm like near tears because it's so scary. And as soon as it begins, it's like finally over. And I'm trying to like come down and looking around, and no one else is freaking out. Everyone's totally fine. And
This sounds amazing.
And that was the scariest thing I've ever seen on stage, and it was puppets.
Is there a chance that everyone around you were plants, were actually part of the performance, and you received a special show just for you?
They may have also been puppets.
Yeah, like that
I
Bjork
wasn't
music
counting
video.
them.
Are you a puppet? Are you a puppet? Are you part of the show?
Are you now, or have you ever been a puppet?
Did this turn you into part of the show? Is the show still happening?
Now, can you go like this?
Is
Is
there
it
anyone-
possible to just put your arm right over your head? Okay. No strings on that
Not
side.
American
Okay, good
accent.
sign. Good sign.
I don't think there's a hand. Nope. No.
Okay, good.
Yeah. This
I
is-
have to.
I need to go.
I
need a
do.
moment.
I do have to ask this because your freak out right now is exactly what happened to me the last time someone had a custom Muppet that they tried to talk to me with because I bought into it too hard and I couldn't figure out how to look at the person with the puppet and the puppet at the same time. I couldn't, and I hid.
That's
We were at a house
understandable.
party. It was like just his little Muppet that he'd had made of him. And
Puppets are powerful things, you know?
I 100% believe they're all real and alive, and you might be one.
I might. But you know,
Except-
and that if I were a puppet, that's kind of comforting in a way because it means someone else is in charge.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
that actually
yeah.
is really nice.
Yeah.
Is that nice? I don't know anymore.
I mean, it kind of is, like,
yeah.
on a
I-
personal level
Maybe
for
I don't
me.
have to worry so hard, you know?
It gives you a goal of to go and find the strings and sever them for sure.
Yeah.
Something to work towards.
Yeah.
Attack and dethrone the puppet master.
Maybe
Yeah.
we can all be real boys someday.
I am a little concerned though, because if somebody is controlling me, that means somebody is giving me anxiety. And I don't like that about them.
That's me.
Yeah, that's me. What the heck?
How rude.
But a large part of my anxiety comes from the erroneous belief that I control events outside of my control. So having someone controlling me just like takes that right out of the picture.
Mm.
Fair?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, this was a journey. Thanks for listening
Yeah.
to my tale
Yeah.
of terror. Puppets are scary is the answer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
Puppets are fun.
Puppets. Yeah.
I guess intense classic on that diagram from yesterday also includes existential horror.
Yeah.
Very classic.
Yeah.
That's true, actually.
Mhm.
Nihilism.
Mhm.